They thought I was just an old woman, harmless, grateful, and easy to manipulate. They thought I'd pay for their dream vacation, smile through the insults, and quietly fade into the background like I always did. But they were wrong, because this time I had read their secret messages. This time I knew the truth. And this time I wasn't the victim anymore. So when they laughed by the pool, enjoying the luxury I paid for, they had no idea that in a few hours, their keycards would stop working. And their perfect family vacation would turn into a lesson they'd never forget. I stood there in the hotel lobby, watching as my own children walked away laughing toward the elevator, without turning back even once. Monica, my daughter-in-law, had said something about finally getting rid of the burden, and they had all laughed. They didn't know I had heard every word. They didn't know I had paid every cent of that reservation, with the money I had saved over 8 months, selling my pies on Sundays in the town square, and putting away every coin inside a cookie tin I kept hidden behind the beans. They didn't know what I was about to do either. But let's go back to the beginning, because it all started 3 weeks earlier, on a Tuesday afternoon, when the sun came softly through the window of my kitchen. I was preparing my afternoon coffee, as I did every day since becoming a widow 4 years ago, when my phone rang. It was Raphael, my oldest son, with that sweet voice he used whenever he needed something. "Mom, I have a wonderful idea," he said. And I felt that little flutter in my chest that I always got whenever my children included me in their plans. "What do you think if we take a family trip for the new year? All of us together like in the old times?" His voice sounded so excited that I could almost see his smile through the phone. "I found a beautiful hotel on the coast. Pools, restaurants, activities for the kids. It'll be perfect, Mom." I put the coffee pot down on the table, feeling tears of joy fill my eyes. It had been such a long time since I had felt included, since I had been invited to anything other than family dinners, where I would stay quiet while they talked about their jobs, their travels, their plans. I was always the one who served, who cleared the plates, who stayed in the kitchen while everyone else went to the living room. "That sounds wonderful, son," I replied, trying to keep my voice from trembling. "When would it be?" "The first week of January. 7 days, Mom. Imagine, all of us. Me, Monica, Diego and Anna. The grandkids, and you of course. Like one big happy family." He paused and then added, "There's just one small detail, Mom. The hotel requires that one person makes the booking. Could you handle that? We'll transfer the money to you afterwards." Course it was always like that. I was the one who showed up, who gave the guarantee, who took care of the arrangements while they enjoyed themselves. But this time I didn't care. It was a chance to do something special for my family, to show them how much I loved them. "Of course, son. Count on me." That same afternoon I called the hotel. The receptionist had a kind, professional voice. "Hotel Golden Palms. How can I help you?" "I'd like to make a reservation for 12 people, I said, feeling my heart speed up. I had never organized something so big. "Perfect, ma'am. For what dates?" "From January 2nd to the 9th. I heard the clicking of her keyboard. "Very well. That would be 5 family suites, full board, access to all activities. The total would be $4,200. My breath caught in my throat. $4,200. My pension was only $300 a month. I had saved $800 selling pies for 8 months. It wasn't enough. "Ma'am, are you still there?" Yes. "Excuse me, can I confirm the booking and pay later?" "We need a 50% deposit to confirm, ma'am. $2,100. That night I couldn't sleep. I sat in my rocking chair, calculating and recalculating. I had $1,800 in cash. Some savings I had put aside for emergencies. And my wedding ring. The ring my husband had given me 42 years ago, with a small diamond that sparkled when the light hit it. The next day I went to the jewelry store downtown. Don Joaquin, the owner, was an elderly man who knew the whole family. Estella, how are you? Fine, Joaquin. I came to ask how much you'd give me for this ring. He examined it with his magnifying glass, turning it between his wrinkled fingers. It's a good piece, Estella. I can give you $800. It felt like a punch to the stomach. $800 for 42 years of marriage. But I thought of Raphael's smile, of the chance to have my whole family together happy. Deal, I said. With the money from the ring and my savings. I called the hotel that same afternoon and paid the deposit. The reservation was confirmed in my name, with my credit card as guarantee. 5 family suites, 12 people, 7 days full board. Over the next few weeks, every time I spoke with Raphael or Diego, they asked me about the trip details, but never mentioned the money. We'll talk about that later, they said. The important thing is that we'll all be together. I kept selling pies on Sundays, doing sewing work for my neighbors, saving every peso I could to finish paying the balance. My house grew colder because I lowered the heating, ate less meat, walked instead of taking the bus. All for that family trip that would be perfect. 3 days before the trip, Raphael called me excited. Mom, you have no idea how much we're looking forward to this. The kids are super excited. Monica's already packed everything. How are the hotel preparations going? Everything's ready, son. Only the final payment left. All right. Well, we'll sort that out once we're there. The important thing is that we have fun. The night before the trip, I finished paying the entire reservation with my credit card. $2,100. My wedding ring, my savings, and the debt left on the card. But it was worth it. I was going to have 7 perfect days with my family. I had no idea what I was about to discover. The morning of the trip, I got up before dawn. I had packed my suitcase the night before, folding each garment carefully, choosing my best dresses, the pearl necklace that had belonged to my mother, and the comfortable shoes for walking along the beach. I felt like a little girl before Christmas. It had been so long since I'd had something to look forward to with such joy. Raphael was supposed to pick me up at 7 in the morning. We'd agreed that we'd all travel together in 2 cars, to the hotel, which was 3 hours away. I put on my light blue dress, the one Diego always said made me look younger, and applied my makeup carefully. I wanted to look nice for the family photos we would surely take. At 7:30, Raphael honked from the street. I took my suitcase, locked my house, and walked toward the car with a smile I couldn't wipe off my face. In the passenger seat was Monica, my daughter-in-law, scrolling through her phone. In the back seat, my 2 youngest grandchildren were playing on a tablet. Good morning, family, I said as I got into the car. Only the children answered, Hi, Grandma. Distracted, Monica looked up for barely a second, and mumbled something that sounded like a greeting. Raphael started the engine. Are you all ready for the perfect family vacation? He asked, trying to sound cheerful. Yes, Mom, Raphael replied. But his voice sounded tired. Monica, did you text Anna to follow us? They already left. Diego drives like a turtle, so we'll probably get there before them. Monica replied without looking up from her phone. During the trip, I tried several times to make conversation. I asked about Raphael's job, about their plans for the days at the hotel, whether the kids knew how to swim. The answers were monosyllables, sighs, half smiles that faded quickly. Monica didn't stop texting, and every now and then she laughed at something she read on her screen. Is it very funny? I asked once, trying to include myself in whatever was entertaining her so much. It's my friend's WhatsApp group, she replied without looking at me. Things you wouldn't understand. I stayed silent after that, staring out the window at the fields passing by. The small houses, the trees that were beginning to change color. I thought about all the pies I had sold to pay for this trip. About the nights I had stayed awake sewing to earn a few extra pesos. And about my wedding ring, now locked away in a jewelry store's safe. When we arrived at the hotel, my breath caught in my throat. It was even more beautiful than I had imagined from the pictures online. Tall palm trees swayed gently in the ocean breeze. Gardens perfectly kept, filled with flowers of every color, and a white facade that gleamed under the midday sun. The entrance had water fountains that created a soothing sound, and from afar you could hear the ocean. "What a beautiful place," I exclaimed, feeling my chest fill with joy. "I can't believe we're really here." The kids jumped out of the car excitedly, running toward the entrance. Raphael and Monica started unloading the suitcases from the trunk. Just then the second car arrived. Diego, Anna, and the rest of the family. My granddaughter Mariana, 17 years old, was the only one who came up to hug me. "Grandma, this place is amazing," she said, her eyes shining with excitement. "Did you see the pool? It's huge. And they say there are night activities. And themed restaurants." "I know, my love. It's going to be a wonderful week," I answered, stroking her hair. At least someone shared my enthusiasm. We all entered the lobby, and I walked to the reception desk. It was a wide, elegant space. Marble floors reflecting the light of crystal chandeliers, white leather sofas, and tropical plants in large pots. The air smelled of fresh flowers and sea breeze. "Good morning," I said to the receptionist, a young woman with a kind smile. "I have a reservation under the name Estela Morales." She typed on her computer and smiled. "Of course, Mrs. Morales, we've been expecting you. 5 family suites, 7 nights. Full board for 12 people. Everything is in order." While she prepared the keys and explained the hotel's services, I heard my sons whispering behind me. "5 suites," Diego murmured to Raphael. "I thought you said it'd be something simpler." "Mom organized everything," Raphael replied. "We'll figure out later how to split the costs." The receptionist handed me the keys. Elegant keychains shaped like palm trees. "The suites are on the 3rd floor, all with sea views. Breakfast is served from 6 to 10 a.m., lunch from 12 to 3, and dinner from 6 to 10 at night. You also have full access to the spa, the pools, sports activities, and nightly entertainment." "How wonderful!" I exclaimed, feeling my heart race with excitement. "Did you hear that, kids? We have access to everything." But when I turned around to share my joy with my family, froze. There was no one there. Raphael, Diego, Monica, Anna, and all the grandchildren gone. Only Mariana remained, looking at me with a strange expression on her face. "Where is everyone?" I asked, feeling my stomach drop. "They went toward the elevators," she answered, biting her lower lip. "Dad said they were going to settle into the rooms, and that we'd meet up later." Without me. Without the keys. Mariana didn't reply, but I could see in her eyes there was something she wasn't telling me. We walked toward the elevator area, but there was no trace of the family. We went up to the 3rd floor and walked down the hallway searching for them, but it was as if they had vanished. "Mariana, what's going on here?" I asked, my voice trembling. She sighed and took out her phone. "Grandma, there's something you need to know. They're in the family WhatsApp group. And..." She stopped, struggling to continue. "What WhatsApp group?" I asked. "The one Dad, Uncle Raphael, Mom, and Aunt Monica made. It's called Vacation Without Drama." Her voice got smaller. "Grandma, they didn't want you to come on the trip." It felt like the marble floor moved beneath my feet. "What do you mean they didn't want me to come?" "Raphael invited me. He asked me to organize everything." Mariana showed me her phone with trembling hands. On the screen I could see the WhatsApp group, and the most recent messages shattered my heart into pieces. "We've arrived. The old lady took care of everything as usual. Perfect. Now let's enjoy without her watching us all the time. Did you see how excited she got at reception? So embarrassing. Well, at least she's useful for something. Let her stay in her room watching TV while we enjoy ourselves." The words blurred before my eyes. I felt my eyes fill with tears, my throat close up. $4,200. My wedding ring. 8 months of work. Also they could enjoy without drama. Without me. Grandma. Mariana's voice sounded far away. Grandma, are you okay? Well, I wasn't okay. But I wasn't finished either. I stood there in the hotel hallway. 5 keys dangling from my trembling fingers, while Mariana looked at me with tears in her eyes. The WhatsApp messages kept appearing on her phone, each one like a stab straight to my heart. I hope she doesn't get annoying about family meals. Relax, Monica. If she gets unbearable, we'll just tell her she's tired and needs to rest. The important thing is that the kids have fun. She can do her own thing. I closed my eyes and took a deep breath. The hallway smelled of cleaning products and fresh flowers. But all I could taste was the bitter flavor of humiliation in my mouth. For 40 years I had raised those children. I had sacrificed my dreams for theirs. I had sold my wedding ring to give them this perfect vacation. And this was how they repaid me. Mariana, I said in a voice I barely recognized. How long has that group existed? She looked down at her phone, scrolling upward to see older messages. Since Uncle Raphael suggested the trip, Grandma. Look here, it says he created it the same day he called you. My granddaughter showed me the screen. There it was. Group created on December 12th by Robert Miller. That same day, my son had called me with his sweet voice to invite me on the family trip of my dreams. I kept reading the older messages, each one worse than the last. I already talked to Mom. She bought the whole story. She's sure she'll be able to organize everything. You know how she is with technology. Doesn't matter. If she messes up, we'll fix it. The important thing is that she pays. Perfect. Free vacation and no family drama. Oh, and no activities together. Everyone does their own thing. The words became blurry through the tears I could no longer hold back. But then there were more, newer messages that made me understand the full magnitude of their betrayal. Did you confirm that the hotel allows changes to the reservation? Yes, Daniel asked at the front desk. Since it's under Mom's name, she can make modifications. Perfect. Tomorrow we'll convince her to transfer the rooms to our names, just in case. And on the last day, we'll tell her there was an error with the bill, that the hotel needs someone else to handle the payment. There it was. They hadn't just planned to ignore me during the trip. They also planned to leave me with the entire debt at the end. They had used me to organize and pay for their perfect vacation, and then intended to abandon me with the bill. Grandma. Maria touched my arm gently. What are you going to do? That question echoed in my mind. What was I going to do? The old Stella would have cried in silence, swallowed her humiliation, pretended she hadn't seen anything. She would have spent all 7 days locked in her room ordering room service, watching TV while they enjoyed the pool, the spa, the nightly shows, the ones I had paid for. But something inside me had changed. Maybe it was watching my wedding ring disappear into the jeweler's hands. Or maybe it was those 8 months of waking up before dawn to bake pies and sell them in the square. Maybe it was realizing that my own children saw me as a walking wallet, useful for paying and organizing, but inconvenient to include. I don't know yet, my dear, I told Maria, wiping my tears with the back of my hand. But I'm not going to just stand here and cry. We walked to my suite. It was beautiful. A king-size bed covered in pristine white sheets, a balcony with a direct view of the ocean, a marble bathroom with a deep bathtub. Everything I had dreamed of for months while saving penny by penny. But now it felt empty, like a stage set for a play where I was only the financier, not the protagonist. I sat on the bed while Maria stood by the window, looking down at the beach where I could already see some of the family. Robert and Daniel were in the pool with their kids. Monica and Anna were having cocktails under an umbrella, all laughing and enjoying themselves as if nothing had happened. Do you know what hurts the most? I said to Maria. It's not the money, not even the lies. It's that I thought we were finally going to be a real family, that we would make beautiful memories together. Maria turned around, her eyes red. Grandma, I tried to tell them it was wrong. When Dad added me to the group, I said it wasn't fair to you, but they told me I didn't understand, that adults sometimes have to make difficult decisions. Difficult decisions. That's what I was to them. A difficult decision. That moment my phone buzzed. A message from Robert. Mom, we've settled in. We're going to have lunch at the beach restaurant. If you want, you can order room service. See you at dinner. He didn't even invite me to lunch. He didn't even pretend to want my company. I got up and walked to the balcony. The ocean stretched endlessly before me, waves gently rolling to shore as a warm breeze moved the white curtains of the room. It was exactly as I had imagined during all those months of sacrifice, except my family wasn't there to enjoy it with me. Maria, I said without turning around, you knew I paid for all of this, right? What do you mean you paid for it? The entire reservation. $4,200. I sold your grandfather's wedding ring to make the down payment. I heard her gasp. Grandma, I didn't know. Dad always said everyone was going to split the costs. Lies, I said quietly. I paid every single penny, and they knew it. They knew I didn't have the money. They knew I had to sacrifice, and they still used me. When I turned around, Maria was crying. Grandma, this is wrong. I have to tell Mom and Dad. I interrupted her, my own firmness surprising me. No, you won't say a word. Not yet. But what are you going to do? I looked once more toward the beach, where my family was enjoying the vacation I had given them without their knowing. I thought of all the times they had made me feel invisible, all the moments they had treated me like another piece of furniture in the house. Useful but unwanted. I'm going to think, I replied. And while I think, I'll act as if I hadn't seen those messages, as if I don't know anything. Why? She asked. For the first time in days I smiled. Not a happy smile, something colder, more calculated. Because my love, the best revenge is served cold. And I have an entire week to plan mine. That afternoon I stayed in my room, sitting in the armchair by the balcony, watching my family enjoy the beach. I had ordered room service, just like Robert suggested, but the food remained untouched on the tray. I wasn't hungry. What I felt was a clarity I hadn't experienced in years. I took out my little blue notebook, the one where I wrote down my daily expenses, and started documenting everything. Dates, prices, confirmations, screenshots of the WhatsApp messages Maria had shown me. Everything recorded, everything organized. With the precision of someone who has learned that in life, the only thing you can trust is paperwork. As I wrote, my phone kept buzzing. Messages from the official family group, the one that actually included me. It was full of photos. Them in the pool, in the restaurant, at the beach. What a beautiful place, Mom. The kids are so happy. I stared at the screen, my heart heavy, but my mind sharper than ever. That message from Robert felt like a slap disguised as affection. But the secret group kept messaging too, the ones Maria forwarded to me from her room. Each new message only confirmed what I already knew. I was just a means to an end. The old lady's being really quiet. Perfect. Hope she doesn't show up for dinner. The kids want to eat in peace. Tomorrow we'll ask her for the other room keys, in case we need privacy. Privacy. As if my presence was an intrusion on their family intimacy. As if I weren't their mother, mother-in-law, grandmother. Around 6 in the evening, Maria knocked on my door. She was dressed for dinner in a floral dress, her hair neatly tied up. She looked beautiful, though her eyes still showed traces of the afternoon's tears. Grandma, are you coming down to dinner? I don't know, sweetheart. What do you think? She sat on the bed, fidgeting with her hands. I think you should go, not because they deserve it, but because you paid for that dinner, and you have every right to enjoy it. Smiled. My granddaughter was wiser than her family ever gave her credit for. You're right, I said. I'll go. Got ready carefully. I put on my black dress, the elegant one I had bought specially for this trip from a thrift shop, but which fit me perfectly. I did my makeup, wore my pearl earrings, and sprayed a bit of my mother's old perfume. If I was going to face my family, I'd do it looking impeccable. The main restaurant was stunning, Tables with white cloths, candles glowing, huge windows overlooking the ocean where the sun was setting, painting the sky orange and pink. The kind of place I'd dreamed of visiting for years, but never thought I'd be able to afford. When I arrived, my family was already seated around a large round table. Robert saw me first and waved for me to come closer, though his smile looked forced. "Mom, glad you came down. We already ordered the appetizers." I sat in the only empty chair, conveniently facing away from the ocean view. Coincidence, of course. "How was your afternoon, Stella?" asked Anna, my youngest daughter-in-law, with that sweet tone she used whenever people were around. "Very relaxing," I replied, pouring myself some water. "I rested, read a bit, enjoyed the view from my balcony." "That's nice," said Monica without lifting her eyes from the menu. "We were at the pool all day. The kids didn't want to leave the water," she added. "They look like they had a great time," I said, watching my sun-kissed and smiling grandchildren. At least they were genuinely enjoying the trip. Throughout dinner, the conversation flowed as if nothing had happened. They talked about the spa, about the activities planned for the next day, about the perfect weather, about how delicious the food was. I nodded, smiled when appropriate, made small comments, but inside I was taking mental notes of everything. I noticed Daniel order the most expensive bottle of wine on the list without even asking me, as if it were obvious that I'd pay. I noticed Monica order 2 desserts, just to taste, and then only take a few bites. I noticed Robert tell the kids to order whatever they wanted, because Grandma's treating everyone. But what struck me most, what broke my heart, was something else. One of my grandchildren, little Thomas, just 8 years old, asked me sweetly, "Grandma, can we build sandcastles together tomorrow?" Before I could answer, Monica jumped in. "Honey, Grandma's too tired to spend all day on the beach. Better play with your cousins." "But I want to play with Grandma," Thomas insisted. "Older people need more rest," said Anna, patting his head. "You'll have time to play with Grandma when we're back home." Older people. As if I were a fragile relic in a museum, too delicate for real life. I'm 65, not 90. I can build sandcastles perfectly fine. "Actually," I said with a calm smile, "I'd love to build sandcastles with you, Thomas. How about after breakfast tomorrow?" I saw Monica and Anna exchange a quick glance, that silent communication between people used to manipulating situations. "Well," Monica finally said, "we'll see how the weather is in the morning." After dinner, as we walked back toward the elevators, I overheard Daniel whisper to Anna, "Tomorrow morning we're going to the spa. Take the kids to the kiddie pool so they don't bother Mom." Tomorrow morning, the exact same time I just arranged to meet Thomas on the beach. How convenient. In the elevator, Robert asked, "Mom, do you need help with anything? Hotel papers, keys, anything like that?" There it was. The beginning of their plan to take control of the reservation. "No, son, everything's perfect. I have it all under control. I just thought maybe it'd be easier if one of us handled the technical details, so you wouldn't have to worry about anything." "I appreciate the offer," I replied evenly, "but it's really not necessary." I caught the flicker of frustration in his eyes before he forced another polite smile. When I reached my room, Maria was already waiting for me in the hallway. "How was dinner, Grandma?" "Educational," I said as I unlocked the door. "Very educational." We went inside. She sat on the armchair while I took off my shoes and placed my purse on the table. "Grandma," she began, "I've been thinking all afternoon. What they're doing is so wrong, and I can't stay quiet." "Maria, listen to me carefully. I know you mean well, but I need you to trust me. Can you do that?" She nodded, though confusion clouded her eyes. "Good. Then I want you to keep forwarding me the secret group's messages. But I also need you to act normal." "Why? What for?" I sat across from her and took her hands. Soft and youthful, untouched by the wrinkles and scars that marked mine after 65 years of work and sacrifice. "Because, my love, when someone betrays you, the worst thing you can do is confront them right away. The best thing is to let them keep believing their plan is working, while you prepare your own. You have a plan." I'm developing one. Maria stayed quiet for a while before asking. Grandma, have you ever felt something like this before? This kind of anger? This deep disappointment? I looked out toward the balcony, where the full moon shimmered on the waves. It was a breathtaking, romantic view, the kind I would have shared with my husband if he'd lived to see it with me. Only once, I answered softly. When your grandfather died, and I realized I'd have to face the rest of my life alone. But this time is different. Why? She asked. Because when your grandfather died, that pain was inevitable, part of life. But this was a choice. My children chose to hurt me, to use me, to betray me, and choices have consequences. That night, after Maria went back to her room, I stayed awake for hours, not watching TV or reading but thinking, planning. For the first time in years I felt powerful because I had something they didn't know I had: information. And as my husband used to say, information is power. Tomorrow I would start using it. I woke up before dawn, just as I had done for the past 8 months when I rose early to bake pies to sell. But this time it wasn't out of duty. It was because of a strange surge of energy I hadn't felt in years. I brewed a cup of coffee with a machine in the room and sat on the balcony to watch the sun rise over the ocean while reviewing my notebook. At 7:30 my phone buzzed. A message from Maria. It was a screenshot from the secret WhatsApp group, sent just minutes earlier. Plan for today. Everyone at the spa by 9. The kids to the children's pool with the hotel nanny. Lunch at the beach restaurant without the old lady. If she asks, we'll say it was a spontaneous plan. Perfect. And don't forget that today we'll ask her for the keys to the other rooms. Any believable excuse. We'll tell her we need access in case of an emergency or that the kids want to throw a surprise party in one of the suites. They couldn't even invent an original lie. But what annoyed me most was the nanny part. They had hired someone to look after my grandchildren instead of asking me, their own grandmother, to be with them, as if I were a dangerous stranger rather than the woman who had raised them when they were babies and their parents had to work. At 8 I went down to the restaurant for breakfast. It was early, so there were few people. The place was beautiful in the morning, with a golden sunlight pouring through the windows and the soft sound of the waves in the background. I sat at a table by the window and ordered coffee, fresh fruit and scrambled eggs. While I ate, I watched the other families in the restaurant. An older couple laughing as they shared croissants, their wrinkled hands intertwined on the table. A young family where the parents were feeding a baby while the grandmother cradled the older child on her lap, telling stories that made him laugh. Real families. Families that included one another. Families where grandparents were an integral part, not a nuisance to be tolerated. At 9 sharp, I saw my family heading toward the spa area. Robert, Daniel, Monica and Anna walked together, chatting animatedly while the children ran ahead, excited. None of them looked toward the restaurant where I was sitting. They didn't even wonder whether I had eaten breakfast or if I was all right. I finished my coffee slowly, savoring each sip. Then I went up to my room and pulled out all the reservation documents I had brought with me. The hotel confirmation, payment receipts, a copy of my credit card, everything organized in a folder I had prepared meticulously. At 10:30 I went down to reception. "Good morning, Mrs. Miller," greeted the same receptionist from the day before. "How are you enjoying your stay?" "Very well, thank you. Have a question. This reservation is completely under my name and paid with my credit card, correct?" She checked her computer. "Yes, ma'am. Everything is registered under your name. Stella Miller. 5 suites for 7 nights, full board, all services included, paid in full. If I wanted to make changes to the reservation, would I have the authority to do so?" "Of course. As the card holder and the one who made the payment, you have full control. Is there anything you would like to change?" "Not right now. I just wanted to confirm another thing. Is it possible to add a security note to the account so that any change would require my personal, in-person authorization?" The receptionist looked at me curiously, then nodded professionally. "Certainly. Would you like me to add any specific instructions?" "Yes. I want it recorded that I, Stella Miller, am the only person authorized to make changes to this reservation." No one else in my family can modify dates, services or transfer the rooms to another name without my physical presence and my identification. Understood. I will add that to the system immediately. While she typed, I watched the lobby. It was early, but there was already movement. Guests heading to the beach, families planning their day, hotel staff attending with professional smiles. Everything looked normal and perfect, but I knew that in a few hours, when my family returned from the spa, they would try to execute their plan to strip me of control. All set, Mrs. Miller. Is there anything else I can help you with? One more thing. What is the hotel's cancellation policy? It depends on the type of reservation. In your case, having paid the full rate in advance, you may cancel up to 24 hours before final checkout without penalty. If you cancel with less notice, one night's stay would be retained. I understand. And if I decided to shorten the stay, would I be refunded for the unused nights? Yes, ma'am. You would be refunded for the remaining nights, minus any applicable penalty. Perfect. Thank you very much for the information. I went back up to my room with a strange sensation. For the first time in months, I felt in control of something. I was not the helpless old woman my children believed me to be. I was the reservation holder, the one with decision-making power, the one who had paid every cent. At 11:30, Maria knocked on my door. She came in agitated, her hair still damp from the pool chlorine. Grandma, I have to tell you something urgent. What happened? I was in the children's pool with my cousins when I heard Dad speaking on the phone. My blood turned cold. On the phone? With who? With someone from the bank. From the bank. He was asking about how to dispute a charge on the credit card. He said something about a hotel, about unauthorized charges. Maria sat on the bed, looking worried. Grandma, I think they're going to say you made charges without the family's permission. The room started to spin. Not only did they want to ruin my vacation and take control of the reservation, they also planned to leave me with the entire debt and then dispute the charges so they would pay nothing. Are you sure about what you heard? Yes. Completely. After the call, Dad went over to where Uncle Robert and the aunts were. I saw them talking in low voices, but I overheard Dad say, "It's already in process. By tomorrow it should be resolved." They had everything calculated for the next day. Probably they planned to enjoy all the hotel services until the last day and then trigger the charge dispute, leaving me not only humiliated but bankrupt. I stood up and walked to the balcony. The ocean remained there, beautiful and indifferent to human dramas. The waves came and went with the same steady rhythm as always. But something had changed in me since yesterday. It was no longer just disappointment or sadness I felt. It was something colder, more determined. Maria, I said without turning around. Do you trust me? Of course, Grandma. Good. I need you to do something for me. And it's very important that you don't tell anyone what I'm going to ask you. Anything. I turned and looked her straight in the eyes. Tonight, when everyone is asleep, come to my room. We are going to have a very important conversation about the future of this family. What are you going to do? She asked. I'm going to teach them a lesson they will never forget. My phone buzzed at that moment. A message from the official family group. Mom, we're having lunch on the beach. We saved you a spot in case you want to come. Liars. I knew perfectly well they had planned to have lunch without me, but this time instead of feeling hurt, I smiled. Tell your father thank you very much, but I have other plans. And I wasn't lying. Yes, I did have other plans. Plans that were taking shape in my mind with a clarity that surprised me. That afternoon, while my family enjoyed the beach with the money I had paid, I made some very important calls. First stop, my bank. Second stop, the hotel reception. Third stop, my lawyer. Because if my children thought they were going to toy with me, they were very wrong. The game was just beginning, and this time I had all the cards. That afternoon, while my family had fun on the beach believing they had found the perfect formula for free vacations, I was in my room executing my own plan. I had learned over 65 years that patience is the most powerful weapon a woman can have, especially when she is underestimated. My first call was to the bank. After navigating the maze of automated options and waiting 20 minutes, I finally spoke with a human representative. National Bank. This is Karen speaking. How may I help you? Good morning, Karen. I'm Stella Miller. I need to report a possible attempt of fraud on my credit card. Of course, Mrs. Miller. Could you provide your card number and date of birth to verify your identity? After confirming my details, I explained the situation with the care of someone who has considered every word. Karen, I have reasons to believe that someone in my family is going to try to dispute legitimate charges I made on my card, specifically a hotel reservation for $4,200 that I authorized and paid personally. I understand your concern, Mrs. Miller. Do you have any evidence of this potential fraudulent dispute? Yes. I have all the reservation documents, payment confirmations, and witnesses who can corroborate that I authorized all the charges. Also, my granddaughter overheard my son speaking on the phone today about disputing these charges. Karen took notes and explained the procedure. I will place a protection note on your account, Mrs. Miller. If someone attempts to dispute those charges, an automatic investigation will be triggered that will require substantial evidence of actual fraud. ChatGPT didn't. And in the meantime, those charges will remain valid until proven otherwise. I'll also email you a form so you can document everything related to this possible attempt of family fraud. When I hung up with the bank, I felt as if I'd just won the first battle in a war that had only begun, but I still needed more ammunition. My second call was to the hotel reception. Good afternoon. Could I please speak with the manager? 5 minutes later, a kind voice introduced himself. Mrs. Miller, this is Michael Hernandez, the hotel manager. The receptionist told me you wanted to speak with me. Yes, Mr. Hernandez. I'm facing a delicate family situation, and I need to make sure certain information is officially recorded. I calmly explained that I had paid for the entire reservation as a surprise for my family, but had discovered they were planning to fraudulently dispute the charges. I completely understand, Mrs. Miller, he said. Unfortunately, this isn't the first time we've seen such family issues. What would you like us to do? First, please confirm in writing that I am the sole holder of the reservation and that I voluntarily paid the full amount. Second, if anyone from my family tries to make changes without me being present, I want to be contacted immediately. Of course, he replied. I'll send an official letter confirming all the details of your reservation and payment. I'll also instruct all reception staff about the situation. One more thing, Mr. Hernandez. Would it be possible to schedule a meeting tomorrow morning? I think I'll need to make some adjustments to the reservation. Of course. Would 9 a.m. be fine? Perfect. My third call was the most important. I searched my notebook for the number of Mr. John Ramirez, the lawyer who had helped my husband with his will and handled a few minor family matters over the years. Ramirez Law Firm, good afternoon. Good afternoon. Is Mr. Ramirez available? This is Stella Miller. Mrs. Miller, how nice to hear from you. Mr. Ramirez is in a meeting, but I can interrupt him if it's urgent. It's urgent. 3 minutes later, his familiar voice came through the phone. Stella, how are you? Is everything all right? No, John. Nothing is all right. I need urgent legal advice. I told him everything. The trip, the WhatsApp messages, the plan to dispute the charges. Every detail. Mr. Ramirez listened without interrupting, occasionally sighing in disapproval. Stella, this is very serious. What your children are planning constitutes financial fraud and elder abuse. Elder abuse. I repeated. Yes. Using deception to obtain financial benefits from an elderly person is a federal crime. And disputing legitimate charges is bank fraud. What can I do? Several things. First, you did the right thing contacting the bank. Second, I'm going to email you a document I want you to sign and have notarized. It's a sworn statement declaring that you voluntarily paid all the trip expenses. Does the hotel have a notary service? Most large hotels do, he replied. Ask the manager. What else can I do? Stella, I have to ask you something important. Do you want to take legal action against your children? The question hit me like a punch to the stomach. Legal action against Robert and Daniel, The boys I had raised, cared for when they were sick, sacrificed so much for. I don't know, John, I whispered. I just want them to stop. I understand, he said gently. But you need to know that you have options. You can sue them for fraud. You can change your will. You can take measures to protect your assets. Think about it. After hanging up with Mr. Ramirez, I sat in silence for several minutes. The sun was setting, painting my room in golden light. I could hear the happy voices of my family returning from the beach. Laughing, talking about dinner plans. 6:30, someone knocked on my door. It was Robert. Hi, Mom. How was your afternoon? Very productive, son. Productive. What did you do? Important calls. Paperwork. Adult stuff. I watched his smile tighten slightly. Mom, speaking of paperwork, Daniel and I were thinking it might be easier if we handled some of the hotel details for you. So you don't have to worry. There was the first official move of their plan. What kind of details? Well, the keys to the other rooms, for example. Just in case of an emergency and we need access. What kind of emergency would require you to access rooms that aren't yours? Robert looked thrown off by the direct question. I don't know, Mom. We just though. Robert, I said as calmly as I could. I'm 65, not 95. I can manage the room keys perfectly well. Of course, Mom, I didn't mean you couldn't. I just thought. What exactly did you think? I saw him squirm, searching for the right words to manipulate the situation without sounding too obvious. Nothing, Mom. Forget it. Are you coming to dinner? Of course. It's my money paying for that dinner, isn't it? The question caught him off guard. Your money. Well, yes, of course. You're right. We'll split everything at the end of the trip like we talked about. When exactly did we talk about that? Robert fell silent, clearly confused by my change in demeanor. The submissive, accommodating Stella he expected wasn't there anymore. Well, Mom, I thought it was obvious. Obvious what? That we'd share the expenses. Mom, I don't understand why you're asking these questions. I stood and walked toward the door. Let's go to dinner, son. I'm hungry. As we walked to the elevator, I could feel his confusion. Their plan depended on me being predictable, manageable, behaving the way I always had. But I was no longer the same woman who had arrived at the hotel 2 days earlier. At dinner, I watched my family with new eyes. I saw how each of them enjoyed the meal I had paid for, the expensive drinks they ordered without a second thought, the multiple desserts they requested out of whim. I saw how they talked about the next day's plans as if I weren't there, as if my presence were optional. But I also noticed something else. I saw Maria watching me with worried eyes, realizing something had changed inside me. I saw my younger grandchildren genuinely enjoying the trip, blissfully unaware of the adults' betrayals. And I understood something important. Not everyone at that table had betrayed me. That night, after everyone went to their rooms, Maria came to see me, just as we'd planned. Grandma, what's happening? Dad looked really strange during dinner. He looked strange because his plan isn't working out the way he expected. I told her about the calls I'd made that day, about the steps I'd taken to protect myself, about the meeting I had scheduled with the hotel manager the next morning. Are you going to cancel the trip? Maria asked, her eyes wide. No, sweetheart, I said. I'm going to do something much better. What? I smiled, and for the first time in days it was a genuine smile, not a forced one. I'm going to give them exactly what they deserve. By 5 in the morning I was already awake. Not because I'd set an alarm, but because my body had developed the habit of waking up early after those months of baking pies to sell. But this time, instead of the familiar weight of fatigue and obligation, I felt strangely energized. Today was the day everything would change. I showered calmly and dressed in my best outfit, the navy blue suit I had bought for my husband's funeral but had never gotten to wear for any important occasion. Then I went down to the restaurant. It was 6:30, and the place was nearly empty. Perfect. I needed quiet to review my notes one more time. As I sipped my coffee and looked over the documents that Mr. Ramirez had emailed me during the night, I saw Michael Hernandez, the hotel manager, walk in. He was in his 40s, elegant, with that warm professionalism of someone who truly understands hospitality. Mrs. Miller, good morning. How did you sleep? Very well, thank you. Could we move our meeting up? There are some things I'd like to discuss before my family wakes up. Of course. Would you prefer we go to my office? Yes, that would be perfect. His office was elegant but cozy, overlooking the hotel garden. Diplomas lined the walls, and there were photos from special events and a coffee machine that he immediately offered to use. Mrs. Miller, he began, last night I reviewed your case with our legal team. We want to make sure we fully understand the situation. Your legal team? Yes. Cases like yours, while sadly not uncommon, require us to follow certain protocols to protect both the guest and the hotel. He opened a folder on his desk. Let me confirm. You paid the full $4,200 reservation with your own credit card, voluntarily, as a surprise for your family. That's correct. Completely correct. And you have evidence that some members of your family plan to dispute those charges fraudulently? Yes. My granddaughter overheard my son coordinating with the bank. I see. He nodded, flipping through the documents. I have 2 papers here I'd like you to review. The first was an official hotel statement confirming all details of my reservation and payment. The second was more interesting, an addendum to the contract granting me exclusive authority over all aspects of the stay. What exactly does this mean? I asked, pointing to the second document. It means that you, as the payer and reservation holder, have full control. You can decide who stays and who leaves. You can modify services, or even cancel specific rooms if you wish. Felt my pulse quicken. I can cancel specific rooms. Absolutely. There are 5 suites reserved under your name. You can keep all 5 or cancel 1, 2, 3, or even 4 of them. The guests in those rooms would then have to find alternate accommodations or leave the hotel. The idea began forming in my mind with crystal clarity. Michael, what's the checkout time? Normally noon, but we can be flexible depending on the circumstances. If anyone needs to leave earlier, that can also be arranged. Are you considering making changes to your reservation? I stayed silent for a moment, gazing out the window at the gardens, where the gardeners were already at work. It was early, but the day promised to be beautiful. Sunny, perfect for the beach. The kind of day my family had planned to enjoy completely at my expense. Michael, I want to make some changes, but they need to be carried out exactly as I'll explain. Of course, I'm listening. I want to cancel 4 of the 5 suites. Michael raised his eyebrows slightly but remained perfectly professional. Which ones, specifically? I pulled out my notebook where I had written down the room numbers. Suites 301, 302, 304, and 305. I'll keep only 303, that's mine. Understood. And when would you like these cancellations to take effect? Today, but not immediately. First, I want the keycards for those rooms disabled at 10 a.m. Then, at 11, I want hotel staff to go to those suites and inform the guests they must vacate before noon due to changes in the reservation. Michael took notes while I spoke, completely composed, without judgment. Are there any specific instructions I should give the staff? Yes. They should explain that the reservation holder, that's me, decided to modify the stay. It's not the hotel's fault. It's a personal decision by the one who paid for the booking. And if they ask where to find me, you can tell them I'm in suite 303, but only if they come to speak civilly. If there's shouting, threats, or disrespect toward hotel staff, they are to call security immediately. Michael finished writing and looked at me with a mix of admiration and curiosity. Mrs. Miller, may I ask, what led you to make this decision? Michael, do you have a family? Yes, a wife and 2 young children. Do you love them? Of course. Would you do anything for them? Without hesitation. And what if they betrayed you? If you found out they were using you, ashamed of you, planning to scam you? Michael fell silent for a moment. I think I understand. For 40 years I raised my children. I fed them, clothed them, cared for them when they were sick. I worked to give them an education. I sacrificed my dreams for theirs. And now, when I thought we could finally enjoy time together as a family, I discover they see me as a burden, useful only for paying bills. I'm very sorry, Mrs. Miller. Don't be sorry, Michael. This isn't sadness, it's liberation. I signed all the necessary documents, including the sworn statement prepared by Mr. Ramirez. Michael called a hotel notary, who arrived within 10 minutes to make everything official. One last thing, I said to Michael. When we're done, could you arrange a taxi for 12:30? For how many people? Just 2. My granddaughter Maria and me. Are you going to the airport? No, to another hotel, one where we can actually enjoy a vacation. Michael smiled for the first time during our meeting. It will be my pleasure to help you with that as well. When I returned to my room, it was 8:30. My family was surely awake by now, planning another perfect day without me. But this time things would be different. I sat on the balcony with a cup of fresh coffee I'd ordered from room service and waited. At 9, I would receive the first message from Maria with the new screenshots from the secret group. At 10, their keycards would stop working. At 11, hotel staff would knock on their doors. And for the first time in my life, I would have complete control. My phone buzzed. It was a message from Robert. Mom, we're going to breakfast. Are you coming? I replied. Thanks, but I have other plans today. What plans? You'll see, son. You'll see. I glanced at my watch. 9:05. In 5 minutes, the countdown would begin, the moment my family would realize they had gravely underestimated the woman who gave them life. At exactly 9 o'clock, my phone buzzed with a message from Maria. It was a screenshot from the secret group, sent just minutes earlier. Perfect plan for today. Beach all morning, spa in the afternoon. The old lady will probably stay in her room again like yesterday. Perfect. After lunch, we'll talk to reception to get control of the other rooms. Did you confirm the bank thing, Daniel? Yes. The dispute process should be ready this afternoon. By tomorrow, we won't have to worry about the expenses anymore. Each message was another confirmation that I had made the right decision. No doubt. No guilt. No room for regret. At 9:30, another message came from Maria. Grandma, everyone's at the pool. Dad just said that after lunch he's going to the front desk to handle the room situation. I also heard Aunt Monica say that today's the last day they have to pretend everything's fine. The last day they had to pretend. As if being with me were some unbearable performance finally coming to an end. I poured myself another cup of coffee and settled comfortably into the armchair by the balcony. From there, I could see the pool where my family was enjoying themselves. Robert and Daniel were in the water with some of the grandchildren. Monica and Anna were sipping cocktails under a parasol, laughing, relaxed, happy, making the most of the vacation I had paid for, all while plotting to betray me. 10:05, my phone rang. It was Michael. Mrs. Miller, the system is ready. In 2 minutes, the keycards for suites 301, 302, 304, and 305 will be deactivated. Perfect, Michael. Our staff is fully prepared for what's coming. Security is on standby, and we've already briefed housekeeping on how to handle the situation diplomatically, but firmly. Excellent. I'll see you in an hour. Check my watch. 9:58. 9:59. 10 o'clock. Right then, my family's room keycards turned into useless pieces of plastic. They wouldn't be able to enter their rooms, couldn't access their belongings, couldn't change clothes or take a shower after swimming. Waited. It didn't take long. At 10:07, I saw Anna get up from her pool chair and head toward the elevators, probably going to fetch something from her room. At 10:11, my phone buzzed with an urgent message from Maria. Grandma, Mom is yelling at the front desk. She says her keycard doesn't work. 3 minutes later, another message. Now they're all there. Dad's really upset. The receptionist is explaining something, but I can't hear well from here. At 10:20, Robert called. His voice sounded tight and controlled, but I could hear the panic beneath it. Mom, there's a problem with the rooms. The key cards don't work. Could you come down to reception to help us fix it? What kind of problem? Yes. We don't know. The receptionist says there's been a change in the reservation, but that's impossible. Nobody changed anything. How strange, I replied in the most innocent voice I could muster. You're sure no one changed anything? Of course not, Mom. Could you please come? We need to sort this out quickly. The kids want to go back to the rooms. I'm a bit busy right now, son, but don't worry. I'm sure it'll be resolved soon. Busy with what? Important things. I hung up before he could answer. At 10:45, Maria messaged again. Grandma, the hotel manager is talking to Dad and Uncle Robert. They look really worried. Aunt Monica is arguing with a receptionist. 10:58, my phone rang again. This time it was Daniel. Mom, we need you to come to reception right now. There's a serious misunderstanding and only you can fix it. What kind of misunderstanding? The hotel says you cancelled our rooms. That's ridiculous, right? Tell them it's a mistake. Why would that be ridiculous, Daniel? What do you mean why? Because there's no reason for you to cancel our rooms. There isn't, is there? There was a long silence on the other end. Mom, what's going on? I'm sure Michael explained it to you very clearly. Michael. You know the manager. Of course. We had a very productive meeting this morning. Another silence. Then Daniel's voice changed completely. Mom, you did cancel our rooms. Yes. Why? Because I can. And I hung up. At exactly 11 o'clock from my balcony, I saw hotel staff walking toward the pool area. 3 people. Michael, a woman who looked like she was from guest relations, and a plainclothes security officer. I watched as they approached my family, as Michael spoke to Robert, pointing toward the hotel. I saw the expressions of shock, confusion, and then anger spread across my sons' and daughters-in-law's faces. I saw the grandchildren, who didn't understand what was happening, tug at their parents for explanations. At 11:05, there was a loud knock on my door. Not the polite tap of a social visit, but urgent, desperate pounding. I opened it, and there they were, Robert, Daniel, Monica, and Anna. Their faces were a collage of emotions. Fury, confusion, panic, disbelief. Behind them in the hallway, I could see some of my grandchildren holding their beach bags, waiting. What the hell is going on? Monica shouted before I could say a word. Good morning to you too, I replied calmly, stepping aside so they could enter. Don't give me sarcasm, Stella. Monica snapped. The hotel says you cancelled our rooms. That's ridiculous. Why is that ridiculous? Because we're your family. Since when? I asked quietly. Robert stepped forward, trying to use his most conciliatory tone. Mom, clearly there's a misunderstanding. Let's go to reception and clear this up. There's no misunderstanding, Robert. I cancelled your rooms because you're no longer welcome on my trip. Your trip? Anna looked genuinely confused. I thought this was a family trip. So did I said. Until I discovered you don't consider me family. Daniel frowned. What are you talking about? I took out my phone and showed them the screenshots of the secret WhatsApp group Maria had sent me. I watched their faces crumble as they read their own words. This, Robert stammered, trying to find the right excuse. This isn't what it looks like. Then explain what free vacation without family drama means, Robert. The silence in the room was deafening. The 4 of them looked at one another, searching for an excuse, a way out of the hole they'd dug for themselves. Mom, Daniel finally said. I understand you're upset, but you can't just leave us without rooms. We have little kids. The same kids you were going to keep away from me by hiring a nanny. That was. And what about the bank, Daniel? Have you already started the charge dispute? Daniel's face went completely pale. How do you know about that? I know everything. I know about the WhatsApp group. I know about your plans to take control of the reservation. I know about the fraudulent dispute you were planning with the bank. I know everything. Monica collapsed onto the sofa, covering her face with her hands. Anna looked like she might vomit. Robert and Daniel just stood there like boys caught stealing candy. Then, in a voice that sounded strangely calm, even to me, I said, "Here are your options. You can take your belongings, which the hotel staff have kindly packed for you. You can call a taxi and go find another hotel, one you'll pay for yourselves." "Or what?" Robert asked, his voice trembling. "Oh, nothing. That's your only option. You can't do this," Monica screamed, jumping up from the sofa. "We're your family. You can't abandon us." I looked straight into the eyes of that woman who had tolerated my advice with fake smiles, who had spoken behind my back, who had turned my son against me. "Monica," I said with a calmness that even surprised me, "who abandoned whom first?" And in that instant, I saw in her eyes that she knew exactly what I meant. The war was over before they even knew it had begun. The silence that followed was devastating. I could hear the air conditioner humming, the distant voices of other guests in the hallway, the soft crash of waves on the beach. But in my room, the silence was so dense it felt like it had its own weight. Robert was the first to recover. "Mom, this is insane. You can't be serious. Do I look like I'm joking? But the kids. What will the grandchildren think?" For the first time since this confrontation began, I felt a pang in my chest. My grandchildren. The only innocents in this entire betrayal. "The grandchildren," I said, "will think their parents made very poor choices and now have to face the consequences. You're destroying this family." Anna shouted, tears streaming down her face. "No, Anna. This family destroyed itself the moment you all decided I was an obstacle instead of a valued member." Daniel stepped toward me, hands open in a pleading gesture. "Mom, please. I know we made mistakes, but we can fix this. We can talk." "You want to talk now? After months of planning this deception?" "It wasn't months," Robert muttered. "No," I said sharply. "The WhatsApp group was created the very same day you invited me on this trip, Robert. The same day." I saw him deflate completely. There was no denying it now. "All right," Monica said, standing up with a furious expression she no longer tried to hide. "So you want to be the martyr. You want to make your little dramatic scene. Perfect. But don't expect us to come running back when you feel lonely again." Her words were designed to wound me, to make me hesitate, to trigger that part of me that had always feared being alone. "Monica," I said, walking toward the door and opening it. "I'd rather be alone than surrounded by people who despise me." "We don't despise you," Daniel exclaimed. "No. Then explain what you meant by get rid of the burden. And, the last day we have to pretend everything's fine." Daniel opened his mouth to answer, but no sound came out. Just then Maria appeared at the doorway. She had been waiting in the hallway with the other grandchildren, but she looked clearly distressed. "What's going on?" she asked in a small voice. "The kids don't understand why we have to leave." My heart broke a little more. This girl, my granddaughter who had shown me the messages, who had been my ally through this revelation, would also have to go. "Maria," I said softly, "come here." She walked over and I took her hands. "My love, your parents and I have very serious differences. They'll have to leave the hotel." "But why, Grandma?" I looked at Daniel, wondering if he would finally have the courage to tell his daughter the truth. "Why?" he said, his voice cracking. "Because your father made some very big mistakes." Maria looked at him, then at me, and in her eyes I saw an understanding far beyond her 17 years. "Does this have to do with the WhatsApp group?" Everyone froze. Anna turned to her daughter with a look of panic. "What do you know about that?" "I know everything, Mom. I know what you've been saying about Grandma. I know you never wanted her to come on the trip. I know you only used her to pay for everything." The silence that followed was different now, no longer thick with denial but heavy with shame. "Maria," Anna tried to explain. "Things aren't that simple." "No," Maria interrupted, pulling her hands free and turning to face her parents. Isn't it true that you created a group without Grandma to make fun of her? Isn't it true that you planned to dispute the bank charges so you wouldn't have to pay? Isn't it true you hired a nanny so we wouldn't have to spend time with her? Each question landed like a slap. I watched my sons and daughters-in-law shrink physically under the weight of the teenagers' words that cut through all their lies. You hurt the only person who's always been there for us, Maria continued, tears streaming down her face but her voice steady. Grandma sold her wedding ring to pay for this trip. Did you know that? She sold Grandpa's ring. Robert sank into a chair, his legs seemingly unable to hold him. You sold your ring? He asked in disbelief. I needed the money for the deposit, I said. Daniel looked sick. We didn't know. Because you never asked, I interrupted. You just assumed I had endless money for your whims. Monica, who had been silent through Maria's speech, finally spoke. Fine. We'll leave, she said coldly. But this isn't over. Is that a threat? It's a promise. You can't treat your family like this and expect there won't be consequences. Monica, I said, stepping closer until we were face to face. I didn't mistreat my family. My family mistreated me. What's happening now are the consequences of your actions, not mine. Robert stood up again, desperate. Mom, please. Can we fix this? Fix what, Robert? Erase the messages you wrote. Cancel the fraudulent dispute you started. Return the respect you took from me. We can apologize. Are you apologizing because I caught you, or because you're truly sorry? Robert couldn't answer. Exactly. At that moment, Michael knocked gently on the open door. Excuse the interruption, Mrs. Miller. Taxi is ready. And for the family? He glanced at my sons. Their belongings are in the lobby. The hotel can assist them in finding alternate accommodations if needed. Thank you, Michael. Taxi? Anna asked, confused. You're leaving too? Yes. Maria and I are going to another hotel, one where I can actually enjoy the vacation I deserve. Maria's going with you? Daniel asked, genuinely surprised. I looked at my granddaughter, who nodded firmly. Maria is the only person in this family who treated me with respect and honesty. She's the only one who deserves to share this vacation with me. You can't take our daughter, Anna screamed. I'm not taking her. She's choosing to come with me. Maria, Daniel said directly to her. You can't do this. We're your family. Dad, she said, looking at him with a mixture of love and disappointment. Grandma's our family too, and you betrayed her. I can't be part of that. It's just for a few days, I added. After that, she can decide if she wants to return to you or not. This is kidnapping, Monica muttered. No, I said firmly. This is justice. Robert approached me one last time. Mom, if we leave like this, things will never be the same between us. Robert, I said, placing a hand on his shoulder. For a moment, I saw the little boy he'd once been, before becoming the man who chose to betray me. Things will never be the same. You made sure of that. I grabbed my suitcase, the one I'd packed that morning after my meeting with Michael. Maria already had hers ready. Where are you going? Daniel asked, defeated. To a place where I can be a grandmother without having to apologize for existing. We walked toward the door. In the hallway, the other grandchildren waited. Confused, sad, not fully understanding what was happening but sensing that something important had broken. I knelt in front of them. I love you all very much, I said softly. And this isn't your fault. One day when you're older, you'll understand why Grandma had to do this. Thomas, the little one, hugged me tightly. We won't build sandcastles anymore, he said, his voice trembling. One day, I promised, we'll build the most beautiful sandcastles in the world, when your parents remember how to treat the people who love them. Maria and I walked toward the elevator. As the doors closed, I saw my family standing in the hallway. My sons defeated, my daughters-in-law furious, my grandchildren confused. In the lobby, Michael was waiting with our taxi. Mrs. Miller, he said as the driver loaded our luggage. It's been an honor meeting you. What you did today took real courage. It wasn't courage, Michael, I said quietly. It was survival. As the taxi drove away from the hotel, I looked out the rear window. I could see my family at the entrance, their suitcases at their feet, probably calling other hotels, looking for a place to stay. Do you regret it, Grandma? Maria asked. I thought about the question as the scenery passed by. About 40 years of motherhood, sacrifices that had never been acknowledged, the love I'd given expecting nothing in return, but in the end, hoping for at least a little respect. Finally, I answered. I regret only one thing, that it took me this long to value myself. The taxi headed toward a small boutique hotel on the coast, where I had made a reservation that morning. A place where a grandmother and her granddaughter could build sandcastles, enjoy quiet dinners, and remember what real family truly meant. For the first time in years I felt free. And for the first time in my life I had put my own needs first. It was terrifying and liberating at the same time. But above all it felt right.